Olá, meus amigos, bem-vindos a mais uma edição do programa Os Portugueses no Vale há 30 anos, ao serviço da comunidade de língua portuguesa e da comunidade de origem portuguesa aqui no centro da Califórnia. O programa Os Portugueses no Vale, focando nas vivências da nossa gente em terras deste vastíssimo estado. E hoje vamos até à Universidade Estadual da Califórnia, em Fresno, a Fresno State, onde, precisamente há algumas semanas atrás, houve a segunda conferência, melhor dito, do ciclo de conferências. A primeira foi com o Presidente do Governo da Região Autónoma dos Açores, o Presidente Vasco Cordeiro, que aqui falou sobre os Açores no século XXI. E aqui apresentamos um pouco dessa apresentação aqui no canal 49, mas a segunda será, portanto, foi, aliás, há poucas semanas atrás, com a presença de um painel e tratamos a presença portuguesa nesta vastíssima indústria da agricultura e agropecuária aqui no centro da Califórnia. A nossa presença aqui no estado da Califórnia e particularmente no Vale de São Joaquim data os anos de 1860, 1870 e desde então, portanto, há praticamente 150 anos que a nossa comunidade tem estado envolvida na agricultura, tem estado envolvida na pecuária. Aqui, na Universidade Estadual da Califórnia, em Fresno, o ciclo de conferências do Instituto de Português Além Fronteiras, ou seja, Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute, o interesse, portanto, desse instituto é precisamente se focar não só no lado de lá, não só na presença, portanto, de Portugal nas comunidades, mas também de termos uma reflexão sobre quem somos e a nossa presença na agricultura é extremamente importante. Daí que o Instituto realizou, portanto, este painel. Tivemos a presença de várias pessoas ligadas ao nosso movimento associativo e também à agricultura. Vamos ficar com o Fresno State e o Instituto e a presença da agricultura aqui no centro da Califórnia com a comunidade portuguesa.
I come this country in 72, 47 years ago, because I know my father come this country because I'm not go the war in Angola. So I start work. I start milk cows for Van Exel in Lodi. I worked for him 10 years, and I started dairy after in the 83. I started dairy 200 cows, and that time, 200 cows can raise, good family. Today, that's hard for that's not that today just 1,000 cows. That's hard, for raise the family. The things a lot different. I have four generations in cows. My great grandpa have cows in Portugal. My grandfather and my father and me. I love cows, but today the things are a lot different. So I have 3 daughters, 2 grandkids, and I speak Portuguese all the time in the house. My wife speaks English, I speak Portuguese. And like 2 years ago, I talked to Christine in telephone, and I speak English, and Christine said, "Father, why you speak English to me?" Because all the time I speak Portuguese. And I like my country, Terceira. I think about Terceira every day. I see the things, over there all the time, Sometimes I think more about my country, think about over here. I'm president of the big celebrations in California. I'm president of the Lady Fatima in Thornton, and later Americans in Gastines. My daughters, Queens, maybe for how many years? 15 times Queens the celebrations, and my granddaughter twice. This year, one celebration. Next year, go the other celebration. So as you know, I raise my kids in the Portuguese culture. You know.
Hi everyone, my name's Christine Nunes, as my father had said, and I'm an underwriter at Zenith Insurance. And a lot is going to overlap what my dad had said, but growing up Portuguese, he always pushed that on us. Our heritage was very important to him, and very important that we knew where we came from, and it made us who we are today. Not just my father, but my mother as well was born in the Azores, so we are 100% from there. Any way he could find for us to get involved in our Portuguese community, he did. From, like he said, being Queens, to dancing in the Luso-American folklore group until the age of 18, being in the SES groups, and going back a lot. My dad's, our grandmother was there up until last year. We've taken 5 family vacations back to see her as well as other family there. So he's always made it a priority in our lives to stay involved in our heritage and our culture. And know that. And so growing up on the dairy, agriculture has always been a huge part of our lives. From showing in 4-H to FFA, FFA was a huge part of all 3 of our lives through high school. It was only natural to come here to Fresno State and all 3 major in agriculture. And so going into the work world, ag is so much more than just production ag. It's not just boots on the ground. I work at Zenith Insurance along with our sister company on the property and casualty side. We form Zenith Agribusiness Solutions, which offers all of your ag insurance needs. And it's in the office, some of it, but I take every chance I can get to get out, see different operations, meet with different people in different sectors of the ag world. So there's so much more than just being out in the field, from financing to insurance to you'll hear about technology and other things out there. And talking to All City the other day, I said this Portuguese Beyond Borders Institution is just a few years too late because we finished in the festas and the dancing and all of that, and then there's really nothing else for us to get involved in. We're still involved in the festas and all of that. But that this is a great opportunity for the students here today and to continue their culture and stay involved in that. But at the end of the day, my dad and my mom made it very important for us to know where we came from, know our heritage, and stay involved in our culture.
Hi, my name is Michaela, and I'm currently a senior here at Fresno State. I do come from a Portuguese culture, as the rest of us here on the panel. My father actually was born in the Azores and immigrated here to California at 6 years old. My mother, she was actually born here in the States, but my grandparents were all from the Azores. I'm actually from the Tristada Island. My parents continued to embody our culture and our heritage throughout my entire childhood. Portuguese was actually my first language. I went to preschool not knowing any English, and that's where I was able to learn English. And we continued to have a passion for our culture and our heritage as my parents really got us involved in Portuguese festivities, where I was a queen and side maid, very much like Christine. So throughout my entire life, I was really involved in the Portuguese culture. I went to Modesto Junior College, and I got my associate's degree in ag business. And currently here at Fresno State, I am a dairy science major. My parents are first generation dairy farmers, and I'm second generation. And I do plan on using my passion throughout my entire career. I don't necessarily plan on going back to the dairy, but actually using my skills and my experiences in the dairy industry and going specifically in the industry to hopefully make a difference. I am currently the Fresno State Student Herdsman and the Fresno State Dairy Club president, so I do have a passion for not only my culture, but also the dairy industry and the agricultural industry. Last summer, I also helped host the Portuguese students from the University of Azores. I helped them get hands-on experience at our school dairy, and it was an absolutely great experience that I would never forget. And the experiences I have learned on farm throughout my parents' dairy and all the experiences I've had in my culture has made me who I am today.
Richard Machado. My journey started with my birth on the island of Flores in a little village next to where Alcidia came from, and we're very proud of our heritage in there. I was the youngest of 7 children to immigrate with my parents. There was a large gap in age. My older brother Fred was about 14 years older than I was, but we arrived here at the age of 2, and like you, I didn't speak a word of English until I went to school and learned English there. Always spoke Portuguese at home, and although I continue to try to speak it, it's not as strong as I'd like it to be. But my mother always said, "Nunca esqueça tua primeira língua," and so meaning never forget your first language. So I try to practice it as often as I can, and I keep up with our culture. My ties to agriculture stem from growing up on the ranch out where my parents had a small ranch, but the real passion of ag for me was through my older brother Fred. He had a deep passion. Some of you know him here, very involved in the dairy industry and in farming, and really came from no formal education here, arrived here at the age of 16, not speaking a word of English, developed a very, very successful farming operation, and growing up, I worked with him on that. I had a couple of other brothers not as engaged in agriculture and farming. It was my brother Fred's encouragement in those days to get off the farm. It's too hard, too much work, go on to college, and I'm happy to say that I, along with my twin sister, were the first to go to college, came here at Fresno State, had a wonderful experience, graduated from here, and then a series of things took me off. My first job out of college was an insurance job with State Farm, so farm was a big deal in that, and I actually ended up helping to develop the farm ranch program that State Farm had early on. It was quite different in California, but I moved on to that and always had a passion for politics. I got to spend 8 years in the administration of Governor Pete Wilson. I headed up the Trade and Commerce Agency, and my focus there was in agriculture and agribusiness and food processing. And I think it was at that time that I began to see, where the new century was changing. The 21st century was going to clearly be a century of information-focused base, away from what we had from an agrarian society as a first wave in the U.S. to an industrial society to an information-based society, and that's where we are today. And in that context, I began to see a need for agricultural field data as it applied in a couple of areas. One, for food safety, for sustainability, for compliance, for a multitude of reasons. But clearly the automation was on the fringe. I was fortunate enough to partner up with a very young, smart technology component. I always say I came from the dirt, and he came from the technology side. But together, we started our company, Agrian, with 1 employee, and we're now at 160-plus employees. And we have a national and international presence. We have offices in Brazil. In fact, in Fresno today, we're training our second full-time employee from Brazil, offices in Australia, and we're so happy to say on the whole circular, John, that we are now in Portugal working with Driscoll's Berries. We just started that program in January of this year, where Driscoll's, our California-based company, has a large distribution center there. We have been customers of ours for a long time. They will be distributing berries from a major distribution point outside of Lisbon, and those berries will be grown in Morocco, Portugal, Spain, and the Netherlands. And Agrian, our company, will be tracking all of the field applications for that. So our company essentially provides a platform to record field data that is used both for compliance with governmental requirements and also today in the big area for food safety to companies. And that data is required in many cases, so it's a choice of moving from a paper-oriented compliance to an electronic compliance.
So I come from a third generation family farm. Parents, three of my four grandparents were born in the Azores, and the fourth would be her parents. All in the teens and 20s, they migrated here. We've always farmed. I grew up on a dairy all my life. Got out of Fresno State in 1986 and started dairying, and I was the youngest of four. So I figured we had to start expanding or I had to go get a job. So we started expanding, and now we milk about 10,000 organic cows. All our milk goes to Horizon Organic. We supply about 15% of their milk in the United States. We farm about 16,000 acres. About 7,500 of it is trees, about 7,000 acres of almonds, and about 500 acres of pistachios. The balance is the row crops for the dairies, being corn, wheat, barley, alfalfa. Then when you end up farming, you end up in the land development business. So we do land development projects in about 6 cities, housing projects and commercial projects. We're partners in about 14 Carl's Jr.'s, partners in a feed mill in Texas, Lubbock, Texas. We own a piece of the local soccer team here in Fresno, the Fresno Football Club, so I got to put a little perk in. Our first game is Saturday, so if you're available, go watch. But as far as family goes, grew up in the Festa deal. I carried so many flags at so many festas, my shoulder's still sore. All 3 of my daughters were queens and side maids and little queens, and my two sons, they carried the flags at festas, and my mother and father bred that in us, and we cherish those days of going to the festas. And and if I just could get all the money back, all the cows I donated to those festas, we could take a trip or two somewhere. But I appreciate being here, and thank you guys so much for the invitation, and I much appreciate it.
4-H and FFA is, to me, one of the best organizations where you can learn public speaking, you can get hands-on experience with animal projects, and to me, it's what shapes our future leaders of today. And it's unfortunate to see it, unfortunately, starting to slowly fade away. But it has shaped me into who I am today. One, allowing me to become a public speaker, learning from different projects that I have done, but it also allowed me to share my story by taking my parents' herd to the local fair and being able to share and educate the public. And that goes hand on hand with
molding our future leaders of today, is allowing them to teach our public and to make a difference in our community.
When you go around in ag, and I'm in all sectors of ag in my business, from in production ag, and you can't go anywhere where I don't encounter somebody with that Portuguese background, and there's a commonality of that. You know, there's the sense of of strong relationships, good feelings, good family ties, and just sometimes just an introduction to that. So I can say that in my business, and although now we're spread all over the U.S. and the world, in the Midwest, it's pretty hard to find one in Omaha, Nebraska, but certainly in California, and even as far in the Pacific Northwest, where we encounter a lot of Portuguese, and there's a commonality, and just the surname all of a sudden just pops up, and already you have something as a starting block, and I think it's been tremendously helpful in that area.
I'd just like to add that you have Congressman Jim Costa, a local Portuguese guy, very helpful here in the community. Went from assemblyman to a congressman. You have Devin Nunes, very, very helpful here in the Valley. Both those guys, I mean, they're in different sides of the aisles, and they don't always agree. But I'll tell you what, anytime you call them, they answer. Whatever you need done, those guys make sure it happens, as did Dave Valadeo, who just left Congress. It's amazing to have three guys here in the Valley that are that good. Appreciate so much what they do.
I think everyone kind of covered where ag is going in the technology side, and as farms are growing and all of that. On the Portuguese side, as Michaela said, I think a lot of the younger generation, I mean, me and both of my sisters, did not go back to the dairy. So I think we see a lot of that, where they're going off to college and then entering more of the professional field. Can still be in ag, but not so much the production side of it. But you do still have those that have the passion for it. As my dad said, my brother-in-law just joined the dairy and has that passion and will continue to take over that. But I do think as long as we keep pushing our culture, and the students have opportunities such as this Portuguese Beyond Borders Institution, I see it with my niece and nephew that are back there. They're only half, but my dad continues to push our language and our culture. And as long as we let them know how important it is, the Portuguese community isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
I just think it's technology is going to continue to evolve every day like it has been, and it's a global market now. Those two things are not in doubt. They're both are happening rapidly, and as far as Portuguese are, I mean, we just got to adjust as dairymen and farmers. We're adjusting. I mean, students, the Portuguese community. It's good that we have Portuguese studies now here in Fresno State, and it will all evolve as the Portuguese people evolve with it.
I think the technology, as Fred mentioned, is going to be the growing dynamics in agriculture. Part of it is labor issues that we see currently in a lot of particularly in high-valued crop products that require a lot of manual labor. But we're seeing a growth in that. We're seeing these artificial intelligence taking place, machine learning, machines doing things that people were doing even now at a citrus conference last week. Machines that can actually recognize and pick oranges at their proper peak. And this is all being designed from a technology standpoint. But you made a very good point earlier in the sense that agriculture is not only production agriculture. And I think some people have a concept that agriculture is some guy in a tractor and bib overalls going up and down a field. And that is a component, certainly. And they don't even do that anymore. It's all GPS-driven, all all high-tech tractors even doing that, and sometimes one guy driving multiple tractors. This is the kind of thing that we're seeing. So to your question, then, I think the future is I think it's bright. The technology, even for young people coming from the Azores who have studied technology, have opportunities to use that either in adapting to the current technologies or creating new technologies that will help agriculture, because regardless of everything else, over the world, I always have come back to this thing. We will have 9+ billion people on the earth, and they're all going to have to eat. So, and that's going to be done with less land, less water, less all inputs that we need. So to solve that need to grow more, to be more productive per acre, is going to require a technology solution, bright young people, and those bright young people can come from the Azores. They come from Fresno State. They'll study at Fresno State.
There's always a bright future in agriculture. Technology definitely has a huge influence, but also global marketing, which is greatly and immensely helping our Central Valley farmers and allowing us to continue our business by selling to those that are also global, but not just within our state or within our community. But looking at it from a Portuguese-American aspect, I'm given a lot of opportunities that I probably would not have been given years ago. This summer, I'll be traveling to Mexico to do global marketing with the California Milk Advisory Board, and I don't necessarily have to go back to my dairy. I am first generation going to college, and I'm able to use the skills I have learned on my father's dairy, but also here at school to go back into the industry, but not necessarily have to go back to the dairy. So I'm given a lot of opportunities that I would not have been given years ago.
E assim, meus amigos, estivemos com mais uma edição do programa Os Portugueses no Vale. Desta feita estivemos precisamente com a Universidade Estadual da Califórnia em Fresno e a apresentação de um painel sobre a agricultura, sobre a presença portuguesa na agricultura aqui do centro da Califórnia, um painel que foi bilingue, com uma presença em português e 4 em inglês. Estar presente na nossa comunidade, destacar o nosso legado cultural e o nosso legado também no mundo empresarial, neste caso no mundo da agricultura e no mundo da agropecuária aqui no centro da Califórnia. Foi precisamente por isso que o Instituto Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute foi criado e por isso estivemos com o programa Os Portugueses no Vale na Universidade em Fresno. Foi com muito gosto que estivemos na vossa companhia. Até sempre, o programa Os Portugueses no Vale, no canal 49.